All right, so I'm here with my man Daniel Daley, host of the Basketball Soapbox. Where you can find that on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite pods at. My man, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for having me as always. Honored to be here. Visual.
It's
Made it.
not, I came a long way. so
Made
it's been a while since we talked a lot, and you know what I'm saying. You haven't been in my pod in a minute. I haven't been in your pod in a minute. So I figured it's only right to have you on, because we're in the NBA playoffs. It's that season, one of the best times
Yep.
of the year. And I think we should talk about what happened last night. The Denver Nuggets, who a lot of people, I don't know if you felt this way, but a lot of people, including myself, felt, hey, there's no way any team is beating Denver 4 times in 7 games. Last night, they got demolished by the Wolves without their best defender, Rudy Gobert, who was with his girl as they had their first child together. So he elected to be with her and not play in game two. A lot of people, including myself, thought that this could be a game that the Nuggets should capitalize on, and I honestly can't recall seeing a defensive performance like that in which a defending championship team is just been decimated, emasculated, I would say too, who just had their soul snatched. It was mind-boggling just watching that game. I'm just like, what is going on? Because I had Denver winning that series in six. That's not gonna. That doesn't look like it's happening now. So I'm just curious as to what were your thoughts watching that game transpire if you watched it live last night.
I saw both games, and I had Denver winning in six as well because I thought Minnesota will prove tough with that front line with Gobert and Cat. They've been playing better this year. Obviously, competing for a top seed in the Western Conference with OKC and Denver. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be a matchup. It's not going to be like last year where they just beat them easily, and you can see the rose petals of the Minnesota Timberwolves building. But I did not see this. Like, I haven't seen defense like this probably since shoosh
Always
the
Celtics.
Celtics the Celt yeah, the Celtics went up against Kevin Durant in that series a couple years ago, and everybody was picking the Brooklyn Nets to beat us, and the Celtics just hounded KD and Kyrie and just swept them. Like, that's the only time I can see. But this is a different level of defense that the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing. Like, this is different. And you think without three-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert, you think their defense would have took off a little bit, but they actually got more athletes on the floor, got bigger, had more athletes out there to hound Murray and Joker. And this is the first time in what, a year and a half that I can recall that, like, this is the first time we've seen Denver just not in rhythm, couldn't get into the offense. They completely tore them apart defensively. Defensively.
Yeah, man. I mean, I thought that this game that they should have made a concerted effort, the Nuggets, to try to free up Jamal Murray, have some two man action with him and Jokic to start the game off. But then when they elected to go that route, they were trying to force the ball to Joker and everything. I thought they should have went try to get Murray involved because outside of those buzzer beaters he's hit, I mean those game winners he's hit in the last series, he hasn't played well, in my estimation. So I thought it was going to be conservative. They should have like really focused on getting him involved early, and they didn't do that. And I think that the length that they have, like with McDaniel's, Alexander Walker, or Ant Man, just throwing these bodies at him is just having them just like befuddled. He really just looks like a shell of himself. I can't believe it. And it can't
I,
be that. I mean, we can't use the Hamby as an excuse because he did play relatively well in the clinching game against the Lakers,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
had a
So
five days off before the next game.
that's my thing. So he should have gotten treatment. I think the size is just because when Denver goes up against teams, they're usually bigger. They have KCP, they have Aaron Gordon, they have Michael Porter Jr., who's tall. He's not a great defender, but he's tall. Like, that length bothers teams, and I think the size is affecting Murray. And I don't want to say it's the hamstring, and that's giving him a problem with the calf and stuff like that, but ultimately, it's just like they're taking them out of their rhythm completely. And we haven't seen that for Denver. Usually they're able to get to that two-man game and able to dominate that way. That's their bread and butter. And that two-man game doesn't even exist. It hasn't existed this round. It hasn't existed. Like,
Yeah,
I see like they're running stuff through Aaron Gordon. That's how bad it is.
that's funny. Yeah, funny you say that. 'Cause I was just watching this game, and once I saw Aaron Gordon hit a few jump shots, I'm like, okay, this is good. But this can't be the story throughout this game because I think this is what Minnesota wants. They'll let him shoot. Go ahead. You can beat us. We're not letting Joker or Murray beat us.
Like, that's the thing. That's how bad it was that the pressure on Joker and Murray was that they had to have Aaron Gordon run the offense a little bit. And he did that in the Lakers series, and it was like, that's okay for him to do that in that series. But this series, no. And, like I can't believe how great the Minnesota defense looks over the first two games, especially with Denver. Like, Denver has dominated everybody with Joker and Murray, and Minnesota said no. Those guys are ready, and they're taking them apart.
Yeah, man. You know what? I was thinking to myself when I came to the conclusion that I had the Nuggets in 6. I was thinking to myself, you know what? I think people are just, I don't want to say overhyping the Wolves, but they're looking at what they did last series against the Suns, who I thought was just a horrifically constructed team. Now I'm thinking to myself, were the Suns really that bad? Or are the Wolves just that good?
I think you can say I think you can say for both Denver and Minnesota, right, in those first two series, right? Because you're looking at the Lakers and you're like, okay, they're battling up through the first half, and then they kind of just run out of gas in the second half. Denver comes over, takes the game over, and it's like, is that how good? Was that expectation of how good Denver is? And then you look at the flip side of the Minnesota Suns series, it's like, how bad are the Suns? I think the Suns were a bad team heading into that series. Like, I didn't think they don't have a point guard, they don't have the size up front. It's just a matchup nightmare where people were picking the Suns to beat Minnesota, and I was just like, you guys haven't been watching
I was one of them
all year. I just couldn't see it. Like, I know they have the offensive punch, but they have not been able to get stops all year, and when you have people that can get rebounds and size against a scoring team, it takes away those possessions. And when you hound them on defense like Minnesota does, it's like, it just looked like, hey, I looked at the series as both those teams faced teams that were ill-prepared, like not equipped to compete against Minnesota and Denver. And this is going to be a real series to see if Denver can continue their offense and if Minnesota's defense can continue. But it's all about Anthony Edwards too as well. So styles make fights, and Minnesota's style is winning the fight right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing you said that, brought that point of style make fights, because we haven't seen a team with this personnel to go up against Joker since the bubble, 2020, when you had AD, Dwight, and McGee, big bodies. Now, fast forward here, we have Gobert and Nas Reed. So these guys are like more athletic, more physical than the Joker, and he's kind of being exploited in that sense in terms of his lack of athleticism and the physicality or lack thereof. They're doing a good job of taking advantage of that, because I haven't seen Joker, even though he's putting up numbers, he's far from his usual self in terms of being efficient. He's working hard to get these buckets.
Yeah,
he's
working very hard. And I think that's what you said about just the athleticism, the versatility of the defenders to throw at Joker and Murray is taking them off their game. And I think that size advantage, the athleticism that they have, and they're taking advantage of it on the offensive end as well, because this is the first time I've seen in years where people were like, hey, you have to go at Joker in order when he's on the defensive end to wear him out, wear him down. They don't have shot blocking. So a lot of the times when I'm watching this game, Minnesota's just getting to the basket, and there's no resistance. Like, Minnesota's just taking advantage of everything right now. But yeah, Joker having to go through against Gobert, he wasn't even there last night. So Karl Anthony Towns, Nas Reed did a fantastic job, and it's like these guys are stepping up. The depth is definitely showing in this series as well. So it's like Denver's in trouble, to say the least. Denver's in trouble.
Yeah, man. You talk about their depth showing up, Minnesota. I think it's safe to say not replacing Bruce Brown, or to a lesser extent Jeff Green, for the Nuggets has come back to haunt them. Bruce Brown would have been perfect from the series. Perfect to go up against, match up with the physicality and the athleticism that the Wolves possess. And I mean, I know there was no way they were going to match the money that the Pacers paid him. But damn, man. Losing him.
I don't know. I think this is a series where it's just a bad matchup, because when you look at, they put KCP on him, on Anthony Edwards. He's too big. He's
not physical enough.
He's going to post him up. Like, he shot a shot, I think it was over Christian Braun and KCP. He posted up KCP and shot a turnaround into Christian Braun and made it. It's like there's nothing they can do on that front. They can't when they get into switches with Jamal Murray, it's food. They try to put Aaron Gordon, who probably could be like, you can match him strength-wise, use your length, and kind of get him off balance. He blows right past him.
Don't have to quit this. Don't have to quit this and stay with him.
he blows right by him, and there's no chance. I don't think and that was the first thing in game one. I was like, is this the series where the Nuggets miss Bruce Brown? And I'm looking, I'm like, I don't even know if Bruce Brown would have been able to stop Ant-Man. Maybe provide a little resistance, but I don't know, man. Ant-Man's on a different level right now. He's cooking everybody.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't stop him per se, but I think it would have made it work a little bit more harder than what the personnel that the Nuggets have right now, and he would help alleviate the ball handling responsibilities that Murray has been having to do. I think they miss him in those departments. Ant-Man, yo, I was telling my boys recently on Sunday, we was chilling. I was like, you know what? I think in about 3 to 4 years, Ant-Man by far will be the best American player in the league. I don't know about overall, because there's a lot of talent over there international, but American players, 3 to 4 years, he's gonna be that guy in the league. I mean, this dude has it all, man. He's really like a throwback player in terms of like his mentality, just wanting to like take out the opposition by any means necessary. His tenacity on the offensive end and the defensive end, very much like a young Mike, 03, 04 Wade resemblance, I think there in those departments. Special, man.
People keep making those comparisons, and it's like, yep, you can see the post game is already there. He already had that. He has the shooting ability. He's adding the 3 to his repertoire, so he's adding that to his game. So it's just building, and it's getting scary because you're not going to be able to stop him. He's actually too fast. He can get to the hoop. He's athletic. He jumps with the best of them. He's going to finish over you. He can shoot over you. He can post up. There's nothing that he can't do. And I think that's just the development in his game and the playmaking that's going to come along with it. At some point, you're just not going to be able to do anything with him. You're going to have to really have a guy geared towards him, kind of like how Jordan had Joe Dumars. Like, yo, you need somebody that's going to actually just try to guard him the whole game. Like, you're going to have to commit somebody to him to guard him. And it's just going to get more difficult because he's getting better. He's only, 22?
22 years old, man.
He's shooting 60% in this series, averaging 35 points, and it's like, it's not even close. I don't see how Denver can even guard him. And we just saw in the Sun series, he took them apart. They had no answers. Like, it didn't matter what they did. He kicked their ass, man.
Yeah, I mean, he has a history of doing it to Denver too, coming up big in these games. What do you think? What do you have him ranked at right now in today's NBA? Top 15?
He's past top 15 to me. When you raise your game like this in the playoffs, you're flirting with top 10. You're flirting with top 5. Like, like, he's in that range. He's top 10 to me. Like, you don't play like this and not be in that realm. Like, same thing with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson might not be the stalwart name that we all know and stuff like that, but when you play like this, especially in the playoffs, we have to respect that. We have to respect that. So he's definitely taking his respect. Like, he's snatching chains. Like, that's what the Minnesota Timberwolves are doing in these playoffs. Because you thought the Suns were better than us? Give us your chain. You thought the Minnesota Timberwolves right now through 2 games? Give us your chain. Like, we didn't think Denver was going to lose home court.
It's crazy, yo. I thought they were going to split.
Even if they, like, the best case scenario in my head was like, hey, they're going to be a split. Everything's going to go back to Minnesota. They're going to split there, and then Denver can take over the series. To take the first 2 games like they have, like where Denver has no answer. I don't see an answer. I don't see a guy off the bench they can bring in. I don't see Jamal Murray getting hot. I don't see Joker getting hot to that extent because they can't match that physicality of that defense. I don't see how they can match that unless they just have a bad shooting night. I don't see it right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, down 0-2, Game 3, hostile environment in Minnesota. Rudy Gobert's going to be back, and we don't know what's happening with Jamal Murray. Throwing a heat pack on the floor, and throwing a towel on the court too. Like, what the whole time I thought it was a fan who did that, but I'm like, why would a fan have a heat pack for? I don't get that. Yeah, then I find out Jamal Murray did that. I'm like, oh my god.
Nah, but it's just that shows you how bad it is. Like, now the officiating early on, I felt like Minnesota was getting away with their phicality. They were should have been a charge on Towns. Yeah.
We knocked over Murray
earlier in the game. Just the way that they were playing, even some of the other defensive fouls, like where you get bumps or like hit fouls and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, they're giving Minnesota a lot more leeway than Denver. But then once Denver started complaining and started whining, they're throwing heat packs. Mike Malone's running on the court. I'm like, this is the first time we've seen.
I can't believe he didn't get tech. Crazy.
I'm surprised he didn't get thrown out. How close he came to him. to Mark Davis, the referee. Like, Mark Davis was going at everybody. He was like, all right, no, I'm not going to throw you out. It would have been better if he threw him out. He wouldn't have had to see y'all be down 30 at halftime. You know what I mean? So it's just like, this is the first time we've seen Denver out of composure, and I don't know how they get back. I don't know how they get back. I don't know. There's going to be something inside, man.
Yeah, I mean, this team that we've seen over the last, like I mentioned, year and a half, who like showed like the ultimate composure, camaraderie, late game execution. It's just like now it's just they did a complete 180, and now we're thinking, how can they avoid getting swept? Possibly, forget losing the series, getting swept. I mean, if we have to say something, I think they got to try to find a way to stop getting off onto these like cold starts, finding themselves down double digits in every game.
That is true.
Postseason.
That is true, because even against the Lakers, you knew the Lakers were going to run out of gas. Like, you just push AD and LeBron to the limit, and then you just see if those other guys can make enough shots to beat you. You shake their hand. In this series, they're not running out of gas, and the defense intensity is not going down for Minnesota. I've never seen so many turnovers for Denver. Never.
I don't know what's going on with them, man.
Never. Just rushing them out of their offense, active hands, getting down to the floor, getting to the ball. Minnesota wants it, and those guys, those young guys, they showed plenty of times last night. They kept mentioning Alexander Walker. Mm-hmm. He kept smiling, guarding these guys. I'm like, that's not what you want to see on the defensive end. You don't want to see that. So I don't know how, unless Denver comes out and matches that defensive intensity, and play faster. They got to play faster. I know they're getting sped up, but those are the best opportunities they have to play faster and try to get something going with their offense rather than trying to plot and set. That's not working right now. They got to change it up.
Yeah, I mean, being down by as much as what, like, much as 30? But they're down 30 at the half. It was wow, this is held to like 80 points in the playoff games. In this modern NBA, it's insanity. Oh, that was one of the best defensive performances I've seen in quite some time. I can't recall a defensive performance I've seen that was like that.
Like, the only time I can think of a defending champ getting beat like this is Miami versus Chicago way back in the day, like 07, like after they won the championship, and then they faced the Baby Bulls with Ben Gordon, Kurt Heinrich, Nucioni, and then they got swept. Like, that's the only time I've seen this type of like repeat happening. Them young boys, man, and that Anthony Edwards, you got to give kudos to him and just how his intensity, his swagger, his mindset rubs off on his team. Because he's giving them all the confidence. He's giving them all the confidence. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they replicate, like you're saying, his mentality, his mindset. They're behind him, and they know that once it's time when everything else fails, clear out, give that man the ball.
This
is crazy.
If you guys can stop that man in the stretch going down the fourth quarter, good luck. Good luck. That's where it is right now. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that that's what's happening right now to the Denver Nuggets. It's crazy. Mm-hmm.
I was like, this ain't real. What's going on right now?
It's crazy. It's not even like a series where you can be like, okay, I can see Denver doing this, and then maybe tell them they just got to play with more energy. Like, no, I don't see anything unless Denver shows me right now. I don't see anything. Mm-hmm.
I don't think they get swept. I think there's a world where they can win a game, maybe two, but man,
they were favored to go back to the finals. And we're sitting here, they're down 0-2.
And now everybody's like the whole world's crumbling.
I don't know the record of like teams down 0-2 to come back. I don't have that on me. But
I think I saw it today. Like I think it's like 25 or 26 times, and 5 teams came back from 0-2. Hakeem being one of them.
Okay. Yep.
And I forgot the other person that was. I think I saw that today.
That's tough.
Oh man. All right, so I think that we're both in agreement that the series is essentially over in the sense that Wolves are going to win the series. Just a matter of how many games is going to happen.
That's the crazy thing. Like, who would have thought Denver would be in this predicament? I know Murray's hobbled or whatever the case may be, but it's like you still got Joker, you still got Aaron. This is the same 5-man unit that got to the finals last year, and you're seeing them just in turmoil. First time.
Yeah. It's crumbling, man. But we could touch on the other game that took place last night. The first game, Knicks and Pacers, kind of a throwback series, the whole moments with Reggie Miller and the Garden and everything. That game was a fun game, man. Knicks ended up winning 121-117. Jalen Brunson put on another spectacular performance. His 12th straight 40-point game. He's having a he's having a moment right now in these playoffs. I was just a little upset at how the game ended with that BS call on Miles Turner, offensive foul call. DiVincenzo definitely did a good job, of showing himself for Broadway because he acted his ass off right there, man. Like, come on, like you can't call that in that moment with like 12, 13 seconds left.
In my head, I'm just thinking first the Broadway comment. They're in New York and stuff like that, but also just like I'm like Draymond Green has been getting away with these type of screens for Curry and Clay for over 10 years. In a big monumental game with this on the line, that's the call you make. Like that's the that's the officiating overall in this playoffs has been the NBA season has been bad in my opinion. Like they just be calling shit at the wrong time. They're not calling it even. It's more disparity on each side. And I'm not saying the calls are going in favor of the Knicks or the Pacers in that game, but it's just bad. It's like, what are you guys watching? And I understand they don't have the visual of us at home and stuff like that, but they're on the court and they actually go to the replay center. That's another thing. When they go to the replay center and make those calls, it's like you figure that, hey, let's just jump it up, jump ball, let's get back, possession of the Pacers, whatever the case may be. No, they make the. I feel like even when they go to replay, sometimes they make the wrong call. So they get it right, but it's like we're as fans, as I'm pretty sure as the NBA players, the coaches, they're going to look at the ones that you get wrong more often than not. So that it's not looking good for the refs right now.
And then come out with a 2-minute report and talking about how they missed something. I didn't see any 2-minute reports about that game last night, but I'm just tired of them damn 2-minute reports. Like you can't go back and undo what you did. So
it's
what's
the
point?
Worst, it's the worst feeling as a fan. Even like even if it's not my team, I'm the Celtics fan. You're a Lakers fan. Even if it's not my team, I'm pissed off at those last 2-minute reports. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, man, and it's crazy because like DiVincenzo did a blatantly illegal screen as well, like 2 possessions before on Neesmith, and then Neesmith actually hit the ball with his hand, and they called it a kick ball. Now you can't challenge that because it's non-reviewable. It's like, come on, man. I would be pissed if I was a Pacers fan.
But that's the thing. Like that's one play, but it's like the referee should be. Hey, let's make sure we get this right. Like, did it hit his foot? Did it hit his hand? Let's make sure because that's something that can change the game. If it's like the second quarter, okay, whatever. That's whatever. But it's in the fourth quarter. Game's getting tight. We want to make sure those calls are right. So the fact that they don't have that leeway to review anything like that is just like, it sucks. Especially if you're Indiana, it sucks right now.
Yeah. But I'm sure the Liz probably will adjust that in the offseason with the rules committee and everything. Hopefully. You know what? It probably have to happen a couple of more times for that to be to like really be reviewed again.
It's got to happen to like LeBron or somebody like that in order for them to actually be like, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you Pacers, they got to be mad at themselves, particularly Tyrese Halliburton, 6 points on 6 shots. What's going on with him? Ever since like the All-Star break and since the tournament, it hasn't been the same, man.
I don't know.
Ever since the injury, because he did come back from injury.
Yeah, he did, but it's just like it's February, March, April. We're now 4 months removed from that injury, so you're trying to think there. And he was trying to force himself to get back into the All-Star game. So that's the one thing that they were trying to do: have a representative for Indiana in the All-Star game. They were the host. So I understand it from that standpoint, but it's like maybe that hurt him trying to find his way back, get into a rhythm. And the trade for Pascal Siakam, the team changed as well. So that changeover, him trying to get back into it, I don't know, but he just hasn't been able to find his rhythm. And I think if he plays better, Indiana wins that game. I think
absolutely.
If he gets and kudos to New York for the defense that they're playing, they're pressuring, getting the ball out of his hands, not letting him get in the paint and drive and kick like he usually does, but he's got to be on for them to win this series. TJ McConnell playing great in the game. He can't be the
Obi Toppin was good. Yeah.
Obi Toppin between the leg dunk.
Yeah, bench. That's wild. Doing in a playoff game, doing it between the leg dunk, man.
Like and especially he got traded from New York, so he's trying to show out. Yeah. so he's definitely trying to show out. But it's just like Indiana, I thought they played well, and I just thought Tyrese Halliburton, if he plays better, they're in a better position to win that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, their bench vastly outplayed the Knicks' bench. Miles Turner and Halliburton had it going in the pick and roll, so they have something working there and everything. I think they got to put more Neesmith on Brunson, try to like disrupt him take him off rhythm a little bit because he has the size and everything, and I think the quickness too to deal with him. But you don't want him to get in foul trouble, so I kind of understand this why you're gonna go back and forth.
The play of the game for me was the 3 to Dante DiVincenzo when they doubled Brunson. I'm like, no, in that situation, just leave him. Like, play that out, especially if he's coming below the 3-point line. Play that out, and if he gets to the line, he gets to the line, he makes 2 or whatever. But that in the Sixers series, in the Pacers series, they did that. They doubled Brunson and left a shooter.
And he found a shooter and they hit a clutch shot.
So they definitely have to pick their poison, and especially when Indiana's not a great defensive team. So teams gotta realize, hey, we gotta play Brunson 1-on-1. We gotta get our best defender on him, and just live with the results rather than giving up a 3. We gotta give ourselves as much chances to win the game. But I thought Indiana played really well, and I picked them to win last night because I thought that pace was going to be the difference. In just
that pace is for a playoff game, the way that pace that they play at, and just how the ball just moves. It's beautiful to watch. You don't see that a lot. Like whereas the Knicks are like very Brunson centric, you know.
Yeah, it's very possession based. Control the ball, pick and roll at the top. Let Brunson make the play. But yeah, it's just styles make fights, as we're talking about again. But I just thought the Pacers' pace was going, and I thought there were times when they stopped running. I thought they were better when they kept running. But overall, Knicks, you got to give it up to the Villanova boys. Those 3 guys, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Brunson, those guys won the game.
Yeah, Josh Hart really killing it on the boards, man. logging a lot of minutes, doing his thing on the glass. I mean, it's funny how this guy has bounced around so much in the league, but like I feel like he's like any team with championship aspirations would want a guy like that on their team. But somehow he just found himself being a journeyman in a sense.
I don't get it. He was on the Lakers. He was on the Pelicans. He was on the Blazers.
Yep, and now the Knicks.
And it's like, why is he bouncing around from team to team? Like, first of all, he's a guard who rebounds, which is unheard of. You got to think of Russell Westbrook, Fat Lever, Jason Kidd, the guys that rebounded the ball. Mm-hmm. But he's getting offensive rebounds. He's pushing it after break off the rebound. Like, he had a play last night late in the game where he got an and one because he just pushed it up the court and finished at the rim. And it's like, I don't understand it. Yeah, that whoever's trading him just for like trying to get picks or whatever is just dumb. Like, he's a cog. He's a guy that you keep on to, and he's gonna have to find a home in New York, man. Like, New York loves that guy. Like, he's the perfect Knicks player. He fits
New York City. His grit, his grind. They appreciate that down there. So I'm happy for him because I was kind of mad when he left the Lakers. I understand that he was in the package for AD, so I understand that. But I'm like, damn, I like players like that. You need guys like that to win a championship with.
You would have tried to keep that guy. In retrospect, now it's like, can we keep this guy and we give you a pick? Like, he's worth that. Like, I don't like. There's certain guys that you don't give up in trades, and he's one of those guys clearly because he does all the little things.
Exactly. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the glamour or about his stats and everything. He just goes there to do the dirty work. The stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, he's very valuable at. Did you have the Knicks winning this series?
This is a toss-up series to me, but yeah, I think I was giving the Pacers a chance because of that pace, just the way they play and they keep pushing. And I just thought the high minutes that Tibbs plays his guys, I thought Brunson was going to wear down. I thought Brunson was going to wear down in the Philly series. He just turned it up a notch, and it looks like they're able to play at that pace right now. So it's definitely looking like the Knicks right now, man. Like, New York, they have something to be proud of with that team. Even without Julius Randle, they're not 100% right now. But kudos to the New York Knicks, man. I can't figure it out. They have strong play from Brunson. Josh Hart makes all these little plays. Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson protect the paint. They rebound. They're strong defensively. But at some point, I just figured they were going to wear down, and it doesn't look like it's this series. And I thought that was the best chance for Indiana to steal a game, in New York at least.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I didn't really pick a team to win. It was very, very close to me, so I couldn't decide. I probably would have given the edge to New York, seeing that they have home court. But damn, I felt like Indy kind of got robbed. Not necessarily robbed of winning that game, but a legit chance to steal game one with those
got taken out there
calls or non-calls that took place.
You gotta let that go. In my opinion, you gotta let that go. It wasn't like Miles Turner freaking lowered the boom on him and took him completely out the play. Like, that's where I was upset at. That's where I was upset.
Yeah, but yeah. So I would say Knicks probably should win this series in 6 or 7. But they're gonna win. All right, so let's talk about a couple of games that are slated for tonight. Some game ones in this conference semis round. So more people will hear this probably tomorrow. So we are recording prior to these games for tonight. We have first the Cavaliers in Boston. Your Celtics, well rested after taking care of business against a depleted Heat team in 5, whereas the Cavs are coming off a grueling 7-game series against the Magic. Your early thoughts on this series?
I'm giving the Cavs a little bit of credit because I think people are kind of throwing, hey, this is going to be a sweep, gentleman's sweep. And by all rights in my head, I'm thinking it should be. But I'm just thinking that with Porzingis being out, I think it's going to be the Celtics in 6 because I got to respect that size advantage that they have on the front line of Mobley, Allen. This is a series that they can potentially play both of those guys and have an advantage on the front court. Whereas if they had Porzingis and Al Horford, I don't think that front court would have been as savvy. They would have had to been like kind of how they were in the Orlando series where they had to pick one to play either Mobley or Allen. And especially Boston has had trouble guarding small guards historically. Some guards get hot against them. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland can be some of those guys that get hot. But I think the Celtics, Tatum, Brown, I think this is where they take it up a level. Derek White carried them in the first series. But I think overall, this is where the Celtics kind of put their foot down. And especially Horford can hang out there and knock down some threes. I think it should be 6, Boston in 6. I got Boston in 6. But I'm giving Cleveland credit. I know people are writing off Cleveland, but Donovan Mitchell has been one of the better playoff performers in NBA history. If you look at him, his scoring-wise, especially over the last 2 games against Orlando. But that's what he does. He steps up in those big games, and it's just going to be up to the Celtics to take it up to another defensive level, in my opinion.
Never missed the playoffs, Donovan Mitchell in his career. It's crazy, man. And it does show up in big moments in the playoffs. I agree with you. I definitely have C's winning the series, obviously, in 6. And partly it's because of Porzingis' injury and, his ability to stretch that defense out. It's going to be missed in the series. It's going to give the Cavs a legitimate chance to have this being a competitive series. And like you said, with the bigs like Mobley and Allen, they can kind of disrupt some things for the Celtics in the interior, make this game competitive. You got a guard like Donovan who can take over a game late in the game. Celtics, I think they're still kind of questionable when it comes to late game execution sometimes. I mean, they're a dominant team, but sometimes in late game situation, games that are tight, they kind of let games slip away from them that shouldn't. So I think they're good for like at least 1 or 2 of those this series. Yeah. And Tatum's been relatively quiet this playoffs, but again, he didn't have to do too much from an offensive standpoint because Derek White was amazing in that first round.
Bald Derek White.
Yeah. So that post they had like ball. You saw that post on Stat News, bald Derek White versus like hair Derek White. I was dying.
Yeah, like it's just he's stepping up and he's knocking down a shot, and that's kind of been the question mark with him the past couple of years in the playoffs. Like his shooting goes down a little bit, but he's stepping up, and you can tell that he wanted to really put his foot down on Miami, right? Like Boston dropped that one game, but it's like after that, Derek White was like, nope, we're not wasting any time, and I'm glad he had that type of performance, right? And you can have those. You can have Tatum take a night off. You can have Brown take a night off or whatever, because the way he's playing, it looked like a number 1 option the way he was shooting the ball out there. So kudos for him for stepping up in that role and taking advantage of that series. And that's what you want. You want your other guys to get into a rhythm early in these playoffs, get into a rhythm so they build confidence as it goes. So hopefully that carries over into this series as well. It's just good to see the Celtics get out of that first round. Unfortunately, Porzingis got hurt. Hopefully, I've seen him walking around. It looks like he's back at practice. I don't know if he's going full contact as yet, but to see him walking up and right, so he might be back during this series, and they might not need him, depending on if the Boston Celtics take care of business.
I don't see the C's needing him this series. Honestly, I don't think that they would really need him until the finals. Maybe against New York, if New York advances and they play a New York team, the tough, gritty, grimy New York team, possibly. But I think realistically they would need him until the finals. So I would say give him as much rest as possible because that's an injury you don't want to play around with. We've seen what happened in history with an injury like that. Most recently, Kevin Durant.
Giannis has the same injury.
Well, he didn't come back. I mean, KD came back for the finals in 2019, ended up tearing his Achilles after he dealt with a similar injury. So it's you want to be really cautious with that.
Yeah, make sure that he gets out of the woods and he's ready for the next round or when you actually need him. So, definitely something to watch out for. But definitely going to see if the Celtics bench can continue to play well as well. That's something that I want to see.
Like Hauser and everybody, yeah.
Hauser, Pritchard, those guys playing well. So you want to see that continue as a Celtics fan. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right, so we have one more game slated for tonight. I'm really excited for this series. Mavs and Thunder, two guys from the 2018 draft. That's funny. And the last series we talked about, two guys from the 17 draft. So now we got Luka versus Shea. It's going to be an amazing
Drafting
series.
Works, people. Drafting works.
Well, hey, those guys weren't drafted by that team. Realistic. Well, I guess you can kind of say the Mavs were because they knew they wanted Luka all along. Got to trade on draft night. Mm-hmm. But of course, Shea was traded by the Clippers. Woo! I know that they are kicking themselves right now. Yo, Shea actually posted that trade where like what the teams received. I was like, oh man, he's trolling the Clippers, man.
He's like a Twitter guy. Like he posts stuff on Twitter. Like he's He's a little trash talker. He's a trash talker, man. If you check him on Twitter, but that trade right now, and especially looking at the Clippers, and Paul George is not accepting any offers below the max, and right now, and it's like. You guys gave up your future to get Paul George, and he might not be there. You guys haven't even had got outside that 2021 conference finals. You guys haven't got past the second round, so it's just like that's tough for the Clippers. But yeah, we'll talk about them at another time.
Yeah. So, early thoughts on the series with the Mavs and Thunder.
Luka and Kyrie are playing tremendously right now. Kyrie Irving. This is what we've wanted to see since 2018.
Since post LeBron.
I was talking to somebody. I was like, we really haven't seen him in a playoff atmosphere in this mode since the finals, the 2018 finals. And
you mean 16?
16 finals. Like really, like he's been in the playoffs and stuff like that, but we haven't seen him at this height of a level since then. And that's nearly 10 years ago. He's been injured. He's been out. He's gotten swept early in the first round, has had bad series. In Boston, he had that one great series against Indiana, and then they went up against Milwaukee and lost. So it's like we really haven't seen elite-level Kyrie till now. So to see him playing free, to see him playing at that level, it's a joy to see. We all know how great he is at basketball, but him and Luka as that two-man tandem, they just wear on you. Because they're always going to get good looks. They're always going to get they're offensive savants. In two different ways. Like Luka's kind of slow and steady, Kyrie kind of hits you real fast and gets his shot off. So it's like it's definitely contrasting styles, but it's working for Dallas. Looking at OKC, SGA, Williams, Chet, that trio right there. This is a tough series because I think OKC does have some advantages, especially with SGA and with the defenders that they can throw at Luka and Kyrie.
Like Lou Dort,
Williams. Jalen Williams. So they do have some guys. SGA gets after it. So to have all of that MVP candidate on their team as well with SGA, so it's like this is a tough series, man. But do you want to bet against Luka with Kyrie right now? And that's what I'm like. OKC had an easy series against the Pelicans, right? Like that was a cakewalk.
No Zion.
No Zion.
They couldn't really take. They couldn't really take advantage of their lack of size in the interior, which I think Dallas will.
Yeah, so like Dallas has a little bit more physicality to them, has a little bit more steady offense. So it's like this is a tough series, but if I had to pick, I'm gonna have to go with the Mavs. Just the way Kyrie's playing, Luka's playing, I think they're gonna get enough calls. They're gonna get enough possessions down the stretch, where they're gonna try to put the inexperience of the OKC Thunder at the task, right? Because we haven't seen OKC dragged into those deep waters against a team like this, so definitely going to be a big test for OKC. But I got the Mavs in this one. I want to say 7. I'm going to pick Mavs in 7 in this one.
Yeah, I'm picking Mavs in 6 only because I think it'll be very hard to win in a Game 7 in an atmosphere like OKC. I mean, even though we've seen Luka do something before winning in Phoenix in Game 7, but that atmosphere is nowhere near the atmosphere in OKC. But if anybody can pull it off, it is Luka. But I think that they're just going to win, like you mentioned. Kyrie and Luka are probably the best remaining, just from an offensive standpoint, the best duo right now remaining in these playoffs. I mean, just at any given moment, either two could take over a game and just demoralize your offense. And like
Score 40.
and they just found like the perfect rhythm of like knowing when to let each other go to work. You know what I'm saying? I felt like because last season Kyrie came at the trade deadline, they didn't really have a lot of time to gel together. They had a lot of they traded away the defensive pieces like Dorian and Vinny Smith, so they really had no defenders. But now you add P.J. Washington, Gafford at the trade deadline. You help shore up your defense. You got a young guy in Derek Lively who's playing really great basketball for a rookie. Knows when to be in the right spots and everything, and just very active on the glass. I like the series for the Mavs, man.
That's going to be a matchup as well. Chet Holmgren versus that front line as well.
Yeah,
he had a cakewalk in that OKC series, even though Valanciunas is a threat inside, but they weren't able to exploit it as much. But Gafford and Lively, they play above the rim. They're physical. They're going to be challenging him. Chet, they're going to be trying to push him out of position. So that's going to be a matchup to look at. And SGA and Lou Dort and Jalen Williams versus Kyrie and Luka. Like, we're going to be looking at those matchups. It's going to be blockbuster. It's going to be a blockbuster. I hope OKC comes out. I hope OKC for a young team doesn't come out flat. Because I want this to be a series, but I just think Luka is going to walk him down. I think Kyrie is going to get enough shots, and unless that defensive intensity picks up for OKC, we're going to see. It's going to be interesting because it's definitely again, styles make fights in this one, but yeah, I'm going with the Mavs. I feel like the Mavs can get it done in 7. Even if they're on the road, I feel like Luka and Kyrie can get that done. We've seen Kyrie and Luka win on the road game 7s before, so
yeah, I forgot. Yeah, game 2016 was on the road. Yeah, one of the biggest shots of finals history.
They're not afraid.
So these guys have the pedigree to show up big in a hostile environment.
They're not afraid to play on the road. Not afraid at all.
Yeah, man. All right, so before we get out of here, what's your thoughts on Darvin Ham being relieved of his duties as a head coach of the Lakers after 2 seasons? 2 seasons in which he did lead his team to the playoffs eventually. One of them, they lost in the Western Conference Finals last year to the eventual champions, and got the gentleman sweep this season to the defending champions.
Just luck of the draw. Like, you just wonder if the Lakers lost to OKC or got past the second round, if they ended up in the play-in and ended up playing OKC and advanced, if he would still be fired, right? Like, it's just that they honestly went up against one of the better teams in the NBA, right? Like, them beating Denver was a stretch, right? Like, so whatever the case, I've been hearing they said there were reports that they were trying to fire him before the playoffs. Like, they were that tired of him before, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but it's just like, he's a lame duck. He's the scapegoat in all this, because coaches have been fired when things don't go well, and it's not necessarily their fault. The Lakers have had injuries. The Lakers have had weird lineups. They haven't been 100%. LeBron and AD have played the majority of the season, and the Western Conference is better than it was last year. There's not those
way better than it was last year. It was crazy.
So when you look at those, who did they face in the first round last year? Memphis was without Steven Adams and Brandon Clark.
Ja got hurt after game 1. He broke his wrist game 1.
Yeah, so it's like, so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, there's like some things. The Lakers overachieved last year. They got past some teams that weren't healthy, the Warriors even to a certain degree, and they went up against the defending champions again this year and got beat. I don't see a way. Maybe the Lakers are just. Maybe this was already going to happen anyway, but I just don't see the playoffs being a result of him being fired, because I don't see what roster. Like, people were saying, oh, he's playing D'Lo, he's playing Austin Reeves too much. I'm like, who else was he going to put in?
Exactly. He had no other options. What are you going to do?
You're going to put in Max Christie and fucking Gabe
outside of
Vincent
LeBron outside of LeBron and AD, they don't have any two-way players.
I said this to somebody. I'm like, when 2 out of your 5 starters are playing good and everybody else is playing bad, what else are you supposed to do? I don't see from a coaching standpoint what Darvin Ham defensively, offensively he could have done. They did all they could. Like, they maximized AD and LeBron to the point where, hey, they were going into half. They had the lead at halftime and then they lost the lead. That's difficult to ask 39-year LeBron, hey, give us more in the tank in the fourth quarter. That's difficult for AD, who's battling Joker every which way and doesn't have an answer. to continue to just put that output, and you're not getting help from your supporting players. So I think he's just a lame duck at this point. Like, they were going to fire him, kind of like Mike Woodson in New York, like where they made all these roster moves that didn't work, and then hey, you're now losing, you're struggling, so now we're going to fire you. I don't agree with him getting fired. I think he should have got a little bit more leeway, but it's just the roster construction, the short-term leash as a coach in LA. He just fell to the machine, man. That's how I look at it. I don't think he was a lame duck. Regardless if they won or lost, I don't think he was going to be there.
Yeah, man.
He maxed out. Like, he maxed out. That's like I don't know what else he could have done.
Yeah, man. I mean, that team. I felt bad for Darvingham, man, because a young coach on the rise didn't really get a fair opportunity in his first job. Because, a lot of pressure comes with being a coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most, or top two most prestigious franchises in basketball.
Let alone being a black coach.
And the coach of LeBron.
They don't get those opportunities. So,
yeah. Like I said, being a coach of LeBron, too, I think plays a factor in it as well. Because whatever team LeBron's on, it's either championship or bust, which I think is kind of crazy right now at this stage of LeBron's career to have that mentality, championship or bust. But, hey, who am I? And the fact that, like, over the last few seasons, Rob Pelinka has made some bad mistakes in terms of trading away assets. I mean, notably giving up all those assets for Russ. But they give up KCP, Kuzma, and a couple of picks.
Yeah,
letting Caruso walk. Guys who were like pillars of your championship team that played defense, at least 2 out of the 3, who actually locked up and played D.
That's the thing, that they went from their identity. Mm-hmm. And the identity that won them a championship. Like, even if the Lakers were not going to be as good as offensively, you still have AD and LeBron, but they played great defense. So you take away that defense around them, and it's like, okay, now you're depending on LeBron to step out. You're depending on AD to step out every time. Like, where in that bubble that season, they didn't have to do all that. So, definitely, Rob Pelinka, like, the way the coaches always take the blame in these is just the nature of the beast. Like, coaches usually get the bad rap, but it's like, like, when you look at that roster, Christian Wood wasn't even on the playoff roster. Mm-hmm. That was a big signing for them. Like, the Lakers thought all that was going to help them. And
oh God, that Christian Wood signing! I'm like, there's a reason why he's been bounced around in several teams, man. I know the guy's like 7 foot and can shoot, but there's a reason why he's bounced around.
I like his game, but it's just like you see where the deficiencies come in on, especially on the defensive end. If he's not consistent offensively, where he's going to get played off the floor.
His lack of a motor always turned me off.
Yeah, like Jackson Hayes, like all these guys that they're negatives for them. Unfortunately, Gabe Vincent had that big playoff series last year against us, the Celtics and the Nuggets. He was playing really well, and then he just fell off. He got hurt, couldn't get into a rhythm, and it's like, what were you left with roster wise to help Darvin Ham coach this team? And it's like, it wasn't there. The defense wasn't there. The offense wasn't there. It's like all they had was LeBron and AD, and it's like, in this Western Conference now, you kind of need more than that.
Absolutely. All right, last thing. So Victor Wembanyama does win the Rookie of the Year. I think they said the 5th or 6th unanimous winner of that award in league history. Would he have gotten your vote if you had a vote?
Yeah. Like, when people.
So you were one of those people who said who thought that it should have been Chet because his team is in the playoffs, whereas Wembanyama's team won about like 12, 13 games in the season.
Like, in Rookie of the Year, I don't look at record unless you're the leading man leading that record. And Chet was a cog in that system. He played his part. He protects the rim. He shoots the ball really well. He's playing well for being out for a year and coming into the season. Like, he was kind of forgotten, but really made a name for himself on both ends of the court. But Victor Wembanyama, what he was doing in limited minutes at times, with point guards not passing him the ball. Like, I've watched Spurs games where they weren't passing him the ball. For him to dominate like that, even though his record, whatever his team record was, you can tell he's the best rookie. Like what he's doing is just transforming the front court game of the NBA, because he can step out on the perimeter. Even if guys get by him, he can still contest their shots. If they get to the basket, he can block their shots. He's holding up well in the post. The only person that I've really seen take advantage of him was Joker, and I think Sengun a couple times. Like, other than that, he really held his own in those defensive assignments. And what he's doing, the ability to shoot, the ability to score, the ability to block shots, his IQ for the game, you can see it's already there. It's just him getting strength on his body. Same with Chet. But yeah, what he's doing in San Antonio is going to be impressive. Like, it's like he was unanimous for me. Like, it wasn't even a question. Like,
Yeah,
like
so I said this. Oh, what were we saying?
no, I'm saying people trying to find votes for Chet, or like when leading up to it, people were saying Brandon Miller. Like people like those local reporters who get votes and stuff like that try to do that, and it's like no. If you don't vote for Victor Wembanyama, you should have your credentials taken away. That's how I look at it. Like we can't keep having that.
Yeah, no, I definitely said the same sentiments. I mean, a lot of people like history has shown that winning doesn't hold as much weight when it comes to Rookie of the Year as, say, League MVP. I mean, they really focus on more of your impact on the game, your stats, your impact on the game. Let's look at like with LeBron and Melo. LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first year, his first 2 years. Melo made the playoffs his rookie season.
Yeah.
But he had a better team around him, a better supporting cast. And we have to forget that Wemby only played less than 30 minutes a game. LeBron averaged like 38 minutes a game in his rookie season. For him to put up those stats, and what I'm so mad at with the Spurs organization, I'm like, dog, this guy's like, whoa, how old is Victor Wembanyama? 20?
He's 20.
20 years older, but come on, man. It's not like he's like in his 10th or 12th season. Let's let him play, man. Under 30 minutes is wild for me for a guy that young.
He's doing like what Giannis did a couple years ago, right? Like when he won MVP, he was playing less than 30 minutes a game and putting up these crazy numbers. He's a rookie.
Exactly. Yo, let him play, man. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the guy can handle 7'4", can shoot the ball from deep. He's fast enough with his feet that if he does get blown by a point guard, he can catch up and with the length can touch a shot at the basket or block the shot. I think in about 4 to 5 years, he's probably going to be the best player in the league. You take both ends of the court into consideration. I think he's going to be the best player in the league, man.
When you look at, I think you posted on Twitter about Tim Duncan, David Robinson being rookies of the years for the Spurs and stuff like that.
Crazy.
And now it's Victor Wembanyama. To have that tutelage underneath him, you know those guys are in the building.
Absolutely.
And to see what those guys did in the NBA early on, and the only question about Victor is his strength and how he hold up. He didn't really have an injury this year. If he builds his body right, it's kind of like Anthony Edwards in a sense where there's nothing you're going to be able to do. Because I don't know how you guard that. I don't know how you guard that going down the line if he gets stronger and works on his game more. Like he's already really good, so it's like he just adds that strength. You're not going to be able to bully him. You're not going to be able to keep him off the boards. He's too tall. He's flexible enough. Like he takes care of himself. He looks like he's level-headed, and it's just like the sky's the limit with him. And if I'm San Antonio and I see that, I'm trying to figure out how to make this roster better around him right now.
Early.
Let's not wait.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. Like when I saw people like early on saying that, oh, he's gonna be a bust, or they never seen him play. I'm like, dog, I've seen the guy highlights. There is no listen. I'm not saying he's gonna be like he can live up to the billing like once in a generation type player like a Kareem. But there is no way in hell this guy's gonna be a bust. As long as he's relatively healthy, he's gonna be an all-star caliber player at minimum. His game, what he does, is just so unique and it's never been seen before. He's going to be that guy in the league. All-star caliber at minimum.
There's just this stigma of European players, foreign players being soft. And it's just like, even since the 2000s, we've seen guys come in and dominate. Dirk Nowitzki took, 3-4 years to get right. Yao Ming took, 3-4 years to get right. Victor Wembanyama's already here. Luka was in his first season cooking dudes. So it's like that stigma should be gone now. The only person that stands out that was bad was even he was solid. He put up some numbers in the league. Andrea Bagnani, like he put up some numbers in the league. Like he was all right. But it's like we got to stop this stigma and start looking at what guys do on the court. Like that's the first thing. Like his IQ is there with Victor Wembanyama. Like there was no questions of that. Once you have the IQ, everything else is going to be gravy, and you can see that he knows what to do on the court. He knows what to do. So we saw the highlight when he called for the alley-oop at the 3-point line. he passed it back and caught the like he's seeing stuff already that guys usually struggle with. So. When people saying that he was going to be a bust and all that, I'm like, you guys got to stop doing that. Even with Chet, when people said he was going to be a bust, I'm like, we got to see if he's healthy, because that was the question with his foot and stuff like that. But overall, it's like, these guys can play. These guys are coming in ready to play in the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would never hold. If somebody gets injured, I can't call him a bust because injuries derailed him. Like Greg Oden, I would never refer to him as a bust because injuries derailed his career, unfortunately.
But he was good.
When he played, he was good. He was solid. He gave them what he could early in his career, being a defensive presence and and like protecting the rim and everything and grabbing boards. He was solid, but injuries just robbed him of his career. But I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Wembanyama down the line. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today, man. When's your next episode coming out? And plug your podcast too again if you are.
I've been trying to time it in between these playoff games, so I'm going to try to have something either up by Thursday or this weekend. The Soapbox Network on YouTube. Check that out. I cover wrestling, basketball. Trying to get into football this season, see if I can make that happen. See if there's the capacity about that. But check out the Soapbox Network on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, all that. The Soapbox Network, that's where I've been laying the groundwork for this basketball podcasting thing. That's how I had you on there a couple times. And you've had me on the show. So, again, thank you for having me on. And thank you.
Yeah, man. It's funny how you're talking about trying to time like your podcast during the playoffs. Isn't that mad weird? Because, for example, I'm going to put this out probably by tonight, but most people will probably hear it tomorrow. So the game that we talked about, like the games slated for tonight, will already been done. So we're previewing it, but most people will hear it tomorrow, even though it's already transpired. But hey, it is what it is, man.
The best thing I can say when you're doing this thing, upload as soon as you can, and try to clip it up and upload it as fast as you can, because something might change, especially during the NBA season when a trade happens or you're talking about a game leading up to something happens, an injury happens, and it's like, damn. So try to get it, and especially during the playoffs, it's tough because there's games every day. There's rarely any breaks until the conference finals. And they try to have a game on every day with that, unless it's travel. So
yeah,
definitely got to plan it out. But yeah, man, we're here, man. Thick of things.
Yeah. Yes, sir, man. Well, I do appreciate you for coming on this pod again, man. Hey, listen, we gotta talk wrestling soon. Well, yes. I'll probably talk about wrestling more once the season's over, so I can focus on that and everything. Yes. But we'll stay in touch too. I'll see you in the group on X. Fuck that. Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I'll see you on Twitter, and we'll talk, man. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Likewise.